I'm about to do something I've never done before. You ready? The Liberal government actually did something decent for once. In Canada speech? Nah, but in all seriousness. The JobKeeper allowance? $1,500 a fortnight approved to workers by the Liberals? I mean, credit where credit's due. The unions. But before I explain how, and I know this is the easiest target on earth, this is like hitting a piñata with a nuclear bomb, but to quote Chuck Mangione, it feels so good. Check out Sky News desperately trying to justify their decade-long narrative of Get Bad, okay? Falling apart faster than Season 7 of Game of Thrones. Oh, look at this bottom feeder. Chris Kenny, a distant relative of the guy that steps in front of cars and sues the drivers, who up until a few weeks ago was still saved.
The worst thing it could do on the economic front would be to overreact, to overdo it. Remember, it was Labor's wild and wasteful and drawn-out stimulus after the global financial crisis that ruined the budget for a decade to come, leaving us still in a fragile position now.
That's right. Just in case the shape of that man's head wasn't enough of a joke in itself, just in case you didn't laugh at his constant furrowed brow wondering how someone as unlikable as him is still on TV, yet not being dunked in water for charity, Chris's brilliant counter-argument to global consensus that Labor's stimulus package was the best on earth: I don't need to read the facts, it sucks! You got that? Just in case you missed him whining about it for the last 12 fucking years, there it is again. Not even a month ago. Surely a man as consistent as that, though, will deflate in rage like the balloon he is when he discovers that the Liberals just approved a stimulus that is, at least,
over 6 times the size of Rudd's.
But if the government can stay on top of the situation, respond promptly and wisely without panicking, it'll help us rebound on the other side of this thing better than most, you would think.
Ooh, Chris is sounding a bit unsure today. What's the matter, mate? You got your tongue? According to Sky, Labor's $50 billion stimulus? Reckless insanity. The Liberals'
$300
billion plus stimulus? Mateship grand. Now, just remember, the guy that looks like he's about to go postal at any second is one of the more reasonable voices on Sky. Look at what the Screen was saying even a few weeks ago about increasing the dole.
But permanent increases in welfare payments, like those Labor is pushing to now increase the dole? Well, no way.
They weren't permanent, but very strong dole bludger vibes there, I think we can all agree. Oldie but a goodie, Pete. But what's this? All of a sudden calling for real wages to unemployed workers. Well, colour that kettle black.
And I drove past Centrelink queues the other day. It breaks your heart. They are us. They are you and me in that line. They are real people who, through no fault of their own, haven't got work. I think Josh Frydenberg is a good man. I think Josh Frydenberg needs to step up, but it needs to be fair income money, not Mickey Mouse additions to New Start. It needs to be what they earn now.
Brings a tear to my eye, because it's really hard to listen to the Alan Jones show without yawning. But I'm imagining the reason she's teary is because claiming just a few weeks ago that the last thing Australia needs is a Rudd-like stimulus. And then when it looked like the Liberals were going to pass a Rudd-like stimulus...
I don't understand why a Conservative government can't see that stepping in and holding the hand of people through this mess, which we're all terrified about, isn't the right and decent thing to do.
Oh, gee, Pete, I don't know. Maybe it's because the current government that you were a part of won 3 consecutive elections by shitting on stimuluses. Now, at this point, I'm expecting the usual flurry of angry messages from unremarkable nobodies of Facebook United. People like Simon Tate, whose name we've changed for obvious reasons, but looking at his Facebook profile, you can tell that his life doesn't completely suck balls. He wrote, "You should stick to comedy and satire, mate. Your bias in politics stinks to high heaven, and it turns a lot of your fans off who just came here for a laugh." Liberal voter. You can tell not just from the underlying attitude of, I hate learning that I'm wrong. Until you came along, satire was never used as a tool to analyse politics. Stay in your lane. You're no better than them Sky News After Dark types that you constantly shit on. Ooh, that just feels right, doesn't it? An independent content creator who's completely free to speak his mind is on par with paid-for Murdoch monkeys. The logic for that claim, even more ironclad. You list sources to give yourself an air of legitimacy. Yeah. That's why I'm the other side of the Sky News coin, apparently, because I list sources. It's such a shame he got scared and deleted that comment thread, because it was honestly like watching Sideshow Bob getting smacked repeatedly in the face with a rage. His only substantive point being, you didn't mention anything about the $130 billion stimulus they passed. He's right. How could I have possibly missed the $130 billion stimulus in a video that was written, recorded, and edited before the $130 billion stimulus was passed?
Now we shall have the lives of a Time Lord. It's empty.
Now that it has been passed, allow me to walk you through how Credlin and I differ, okay, sweetie? I am not one of the most boring commentators on earth, but 2, I don't change my mind on whether policy is good or not based on who passes it. I strongly disagreed with the TPP before Labor ratified it, and gee, wouldn't you know, strongly disagree with the TPP after Labor ratified it. You see that tiny bit of difference between me and the fucking baseball on Sky News? Frankly, I see more of a resemblance between you two, if I'm honest. Ditto the $130 billion stimulus package the Liberals just passed. It's excellent policy, just what the doctor ordered. Better late than never, and I wish I could give them credit for it. Because if you're bored of me saying, the Liberal government, can you imagine being the guy whose fucking catchphrase it is? I would love to come out one week and say, hey guys, you know the government we've had for the last 7 years? They did something in the public's interest. Once. I'd love to. The problem with that though, Simon, is I actually read a lot. As a result, I know that the $130 billion stimulus you're praising as a Liberal accomplishment was actually designed by a former Labor minister under the Gillard government. I don't like that that's a fact. I wish the current government was competent enough to construct a stimulus themselves, but the reality is that the party of grown-up private school prefects you seem to have a hard-on for, they're so out of their depth, they went grovelling to a former member of the government they deposed on this very reason, crying, Daddy, Daddy, can you help me make a stimulus? I wish I could give the Liberals credit for being proactive on the job seeker package, but the reality is they were openly mocking the idea right up until days before it was passed. The organisation that constructed and pushed for the stimulus since day dot was the union movement. Lay off Scomo, he's doing the best he can. Yeah. If you compare him to a kid trying to tie his shoelaces and crying that he can't, he's right up there with the best of them. To those that say, never without a shred of evidence, mind you, all I can say is, thank your lucky stars, Labor isn't in power. Can you imagine if Labor was? Yeah, in fact I can, because they fucking are. They're the ones pushing for the school closures. They're the ones pushing for increased test kits. They're the ones pushing for stimuluses to stop the economy from tanking, while the Liberals are using it as an opportunity to hand out billions of dollars to their donors. So thank you, Simon, for attempting to justify the way your dad told you to vote, but the unfortunate reality for the rest of us is we have to pick up your slack. If you aren't a union member, the stimulus is exactly why you need to be one, because gee, who'd have thought the organisation whose purpose it is to look out for workers looked out for workers. You should be using your sweet government payments to become a member today, because without them, you literally wouldn't have a job. And before I get the usual done-to-death accusation of, you are paid for by unions and Labor, I'm not. I just do something Simon doesn't, which is pay attention to current events a little more than watching 7 seconds of 9 News. So as always, like the video, make sure you get 2 of your friends to subscribe, and keep rubbing reality in the face of dullards like Simon. Just like you rub a dog's face in a chicken it killed in the hope that one day it actually might learn a lesson.
Please share and comment below. Comment.